Schizophrenia. It's a word we've all probably heard, but for so many, it's still shrouded in mystery and, honestly, a lot of fear. So today, we're going to demystify it. We're going to cut right through those myths and get to the real facts.
Okay, let's just get the biggest one out of the way right from the start. You've seen it in movies, you've heard people joke about it, this idea of a split personality. But is that what schizophrenia actually is?
The answer is a huge, emphatic no. This is without a doubt the most common and damaging misunderstanding. The name itself is a little confusing. The person who coined it, Eugene Bleuler, used the term to mean a split mind, but he was talking about a split from reality, not a split into multiple personalities. That's a completely different disorder.
So what are we really talking about? Well, schizophrenia is a type of psychotic disorder. And that's the key right there. It's an illness that changes how a person thinks, feels, and, most importantly, perceives reality. It's about their connection to the world around them becoming broken, not their personality shattering into pieces.
Okay, so to really get it, we need to talk about the symptoms. What does this illness actually look and feel like for someone? It's not one single thing. It's a whole spectrum of experiences that are usually broken down into three main groups. Now, the names for these groups can be a little tricky. We have positive and negative symptoms. But listen, positive does not mean good, and negative does not mean bad. Just think of it like basic math. Positive symptoms are things that are added to a person's experience, while negative symptoms are things that are taken away or lost.
So these positive symptoms are the ones you might be more familiar with. They're these added, really intrusive experiences. We're talking about delusions. These are deeply held false beliefs, like thinking you're being controlled by an outside force. And then there are hallucinations, like seeing things or most often hearing voices. And you have to understand, for the person experiencing this, these things are 100% real.
Then you have the negative symptoms, and these can be just as devastating. This is where abilities are lost. It might look like someone has no emotional expression, what's called a flat affect, or maybe they completely lose their motivation or the ability to feel any pleasure at all. These are the symptoms that sometimes get mistaken for just being lazy or depressed, but it's a core part of the illness.
And there's a third category too, cognitive symptoms. This is all about the brain's executive functions, the stuff that helps us focus, remember things, and plan our day. The illness can make all of that incredibly difficult. It's not about intelligence, it's about the brain's wiring getting scrambled.
All right, section 2. So what on earth causes something like this? The simple answer is, there is no simple answer. It's not like there's one switch that gets flipped.
Researchers are pretty sure there's no single cause. Instead, it's more like a perfect storm, a really complex puzzle where a bunch of different pieces, genetics, brain chemistry, and your environment, all have to come together in just the wrong way.
You might have heard the analogy that genetics loads the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. And that's a pretty good way to think about it. Someone might be born with a genetic risk, but the illness might never actually appear unless they experience certain environmental triggers, like extreme stress or substance use during their teen years.
And this number right here really shows you the power of genetics. If you have two identical twins who share the exact same DNA, and one of them develops schizophrenia, the other twin has a 50% chance of developing it too. That's a huge risk, but it also tells you something really important. Genes aren't the whole story.
Okay, now for the most important part of this whole conversation. After hearing all that, it can sound pretty scary. But the story of schizophrenia today is absolutely a story of hope and recovery. This is a message that gets lost way too often. People can and do get better.
I mean, just look at these numbers. With the right treatment, about a quarter of people recover fully or almost fully. Another quarter see a really significant improvement in their lives. That means up to half of the people diagnosed can go on to live meaningful, fulfilling lives. It is not a life sentence.
So how do they do it? Well, modern treatment is so much more than just a pill. Sure, antipsychotic medication is often a cornerstone to get the symptoms under control, but real, lasting recovery comes from therapy, family education, and support to get back into work or school. It's about treating the whole person, not just the illness. And you know what's absolutely crucial? Timing. All the research shows that the sooner someone gets help after that first psychotic episode, the better their chances are in the long run. Getting help early can literally change the entire course of a person's life.
So we've talked about symptoms, causes, and treatment. But there's often one last massive hurdle to clear. And it's not the illness itself. It's us. It's the stigma and fear that comes from society. And this is where we all have a part to play. I really want you to let this sink in.
That stereotype of the dangerous, violent person with schizophrenia, it is a destructive myth. The actual data is crystal clear. People with this illness are far, far more likely to be the victims of violence than to cause it.
Because with the right treatment and a good support system, a full life is totally possible. We're talking about people finishing college, having amazing careers, getting married, and contributing to their communities. Just think of the brilliant mathematician John Nash from A Beautiful Mind. His story showed the world that a diagnosis never has to define a person's potential. So, I guess that leaves us with this question. Now that we know the facts, what can we do? How can we be the ones to change the conversation, to replace all that fear with actual meaningful support? Knowing the truth is the first step. What we do with it is next. If this explainer helped bring some clarity, please subscribe to the channel and like the video to help others find it too. Thank you for watching.